Welcome to NAC TV Reads the Neepawa Press. My name is Christine Waddell, and I am one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. You may be joining us online, Neepawa Access Live on WCG 12, Channel 30 Direct Sightline, MTS, or Bell Express View. These broadcasts are made possible by our volunteers, our staff, advertisers, and donations by viewers like yourself. If you enjoy what you see and hear, please consider supporting us by a donation or by volunteering, and you can contact our office at 476-2639. And this week's Neepawa Press, Wednesday, April 12th, 2017. And the front page is Ag Expo Ready to Grow. And it's two photographs of the Ag Expo. 39 exhibitors from across the region participated in the first Neepawa Ag Expo on Thursday, April 6th at the Yellowhead Hall. Additional pictures from the event can be seen on page 5. And we'll just get to those when we get to them. Being Easter week, Holy Week, the time for putting together a newspaper has been a little shorter, and our paper is only 8 pages long. Neepawa Press, Looking Back. These are compiled by Cecil Pittman. His headline is 1947. Arden's oldest resident dies at 94 years of age. And it is the first one in the set, and the photograph is there. 70 years ago, April 10th, 1947, Maurice Boughton, Arden's oldest resident, passed away. And there's a photograph of Maurice Boughton from the Neepawa Press archives. And it goes on to say, funeral service for the late Morris Edmund Boughton, postmaster here since 1884, whose death occurred on Thursday, April 1st, 1947, at his residence at the age of 94, was held at the Arden United Church on Friday, April 4th at 2 p.m., conducted by Pastor Reverend A.I.A. Carruthers. Interment was made in Arden Cemetery. Mr. Boughton was Arden's oldest resident, born in Gloucester, England, in 1853. In 1874, Boughton arrived in Toronto and came west in 1878. He took up his first homestead and preemption in the Salisbury district, 8 miles northwest of what is now the village of Arden. 60 years ago, 1957, Edgar B. Smee, Neepawa motel operator, was elected chairman of Northwest District, Chapter 5 of the Credit Union Society at its annual meeting in Minnedosa last week. Mr. Smee is also the chairman of the Beautiful Plains Credit Union in Neepawa. 50 years ago, Tuesday, April 11th, 1967. Miss Louise Card of Neepawa, National President of the Canadian Federation of Business and Professional Women's Club, will leave April 14th to attend the board meeting of the International Federation of Business and Professional Women's Clubs in Rome, Italy, April 17th to 22nd. She will be accompanied by Margaret McIrvine, a past honorary secretary-treasurer of the Canadian Federation and presently the honorary secretary of the International Federation. 40 years ago, 1977, Sand Store Limited will be holding its grand opening in the town of Neepawa on Tuesday, April 19th. The store is located in the old Fenwick's location. The Neepawa store represents the 89th sand store in Canada, part of a chain that extends from North Bay, Ontario to the east to Port Alberni, BC in the west, and Fort St. John in the north. Manager of the store is Phil Rondeau, a native of Dunray, Manitoba, who has previously been with Sand stores in Brandon and Swan River. The grand opening will begin at 9 a.m. and the mayor and Sand store representatives will be in attendance for the ribbon cutting ceremony. 30 years ago, 1987. The fight being waged by Spring Hill Farms Employees Association against the United Food and Commercial Workers, UFCW, continued Friday when the Spring Hill employees walked off the job. According to the employee union president, Gerald Myers, the walk was not a protest against the company, but against the UFCW, certified by the Labor Board to represent employees at the Neepawa plant. At 5 a.m., 3 picketers began their walk around the plant, and by 7 a.m., about 60 people were holding placards denouncing the UFCW and the practices of the Labor Board. 20 years ago, 1997, April 14th. The worst blizzard of 1997 passed through Neepawa last weekend with little more than an interruption in traffic. Emergency Measures Organization, EMO, coordinator Ken Jenkins said while the communities to the south and east felt the cruel sting of winter, the bad weather almost passed the town by. We had truckers stopped along the highway, but we really didn't have anybody stranded, said Jenkins. And 10 years ago, Monday, April 9th, 2007, a former Neepawa phys ed teacher is being recognized with the Lieutenant Governor's Make a Difference Community Award. Publicity-shy Muriel Gammy said she agreed to attend the April 18th ceremony in Winnipeg only after learning she wouldn't have to make an acceptance speech when receiving her award. I just think there are so many other people deserving of the award, Gammy said last week. I'd rather be off in the woods somewhere, she added jokingly. Her time in the woods played a large part in Gammy's win, said Heather Douglas, who nominated Gammy on behalf of the Chronic Disease Preventative Committee. Gammy almost single-handedly looks after the cross-country ski trail east of Neepawa and has further developed the area for snowshoeing and tobogganing. She also reached first-time cross-country skiers and snowshoers. She is absolutely incredible woman, Douglas said. It's unbelievable the amount of work she gets done. And we have a letter or article from Ken Kingdon, who lives and works in the Riding Mountain Biosphere Reserve. Moments in Riding Mountain, lofty ideas. As a farm kid, I didn't like to stick around in the house too much, as it inevitably meant having to do house chores, which for a boy in the 1970s was just plain embarrassing. Luckily, times have changed, and I'm proud to say that I am now a moderately good toilet scrubber. Back in the day, however, avoiding housework on stormy winter days when we were almost housebound could be tricky. After all, there were only so many places to hide out. One of our favorites, though, was the barn loft. The barn on our farm was a standard hip-roofed barn built in the 1940s. Originally, of course, the loft was used to store loose hay and straw, gathered in by a sweep behind horses, transferred to a rack, and then lifted high into the loft using the sling. The storage of loose hay predates my time, so the early operations of the loft is based on stories that were told to me by my dad and his family. By the 1970s, we still used the loft, but by then the hay and straw were stored in the form of square bales. The loft was where we stored our best alfalfa, saved for the milk cows, which supplied the milk for the family and thus the only cow that stayed overnight in the barn. The loft also contained straw bales used to bed the milk cow and also to keep a good supply of dry bedding for calving time, when the spring thaw made the cattle yard mucky. This meant that the loft was a good place to build forts during the foulest snowstorms. Straw bales were great insulation so even on the coldest days, the tunnels we kept, So even on the coldest days, the tunnels we built kept us warm for hours. There were also a lot of lighter than hay bales. Straw bales were also a lot lighter than hay bales, thus were easier to lug around. We would build long, complicated tunnels through the pile, ending in a single room. Like most things, the construction portion of the project was the interesting part. After spending 3 or 4 hours of building, we'd congratulate each other on a job well done, followed by 2 minutes of uncomfortable silence while we sat around looking at each other. We'd then wander off and find something more interesting to do. Then, as winter progressed and the bale pile went down, more and more space was created. By late winter, we could start using the homemade swing that was shaped like an airplane and tied to long ropes hung from the rafters. It was always a bit of a competition as to whom would be the first to fly each year. However, soon enough, someone would be swooping over the floor of the attic with the hope of touching the plane's nose and tail to the loft's rafters. While it was generally safe to be the pilot of the airplane or even the airplane pusher, being an observer, patiently waiting your turn, was always fraught with danger. The airplane's wings were about 6 feet wide, and if you weren't paying attention, there was always a good chance that you'd get clipped as it flew past you. Actually, now that I think about it, being the person pushing and pulling on the rope to make the airplane fly was also a bit of a risky job. That person, usually in the form of an older brother, would stand on a little wooden platform high above the loft floor, pushing and pulling with all their might on the large rope which supported the airplane. This is where things got risky. Once the plane's momentum got going, the rope took on a life of its own. On at least one occasion, one of the brothers got pushed off of the platform by the swinging rope. Don't worry though, after he got his wind knocked out, he was able to breathe normally in about 10 minutes. Sometimes, even being the pilot wasn't without its hazards. We weren't the best at tying knots, so from time to time, the plane would lose a rope and the rider would be unceremoniously dumped from the airplane and skid across the loft floor. Oh, the humility. By late spring, the loft was pretty much empty. This made the loft a great place to hang out on those rainy spring days. Using a variety of ropes, we would struggle to lift our bikes up into the loft through one of the doors at the end of the barn. Once up in the loft, the bikes were magically transformed into high-speed racing motorcycles. Soon we would be racing around and around the racetrack, traced out on the smooth, polished wood floor. Inevitably, a crash would occur when we blew a tire, usually from running over a nail, or we skidded out on some errant hay left behind. Just like opening of the Worldwide of Sports on CBC, we relived the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Cue the opening theme song. Funnily enough, TV had other influences on our use of the loft. The barn was the tallest structure on the farm, so it made sense that the loft became our fire tower immediately after watching the forest rangers. XYN 556A for Apple, do you read me? As I read back over this article, 2 things strike me. 1, we had a real strong sense of imagination when we were kids. 2, I must be getting old, since I'm starting to think fondly of the really bad television shows from the 1970s. Thank you, Ken Kingdon. Lofty ideas. We have a submission to My Neepawa. Helen Drysdale has sent 2 photographs. One of the Beautiful Plains Museum on the left, and the museum as its former home as a CNR train station. And so there it is as it sits today and as it was years ago. And there's people out on the platform as well. And there's two articles here on page 4. Westlake Employment asks for support from town of Neepawa. And this is Neepawa Town Council, Tuesday, April 4th, 2017, by Owen Devereaux. Westlake Employment Skills and Services made a presentation to Town Council on Tuesday, April 4th. Board members and representatives noted that the operational budget for the not-for-profit service from August 2017 to July 2018 will be $68,765. The province of Manitoba's education and training program is their main source of funding, making up about 79% of the total budget. In the past 4 years, the province has provided one funding increase, a 2% bump back in August 2013. It also factored in an adjustment in October 2015 to assist in the increase of rent when Westlake moved to their new location at 41 Main Street East from the Resource Center. Other sources of funding come from partnerships with local governments. As a nonprofit, Westlake does not have the ability to raise funds through other means other than the two listed, as any amount raised would be held back from the province as per the funding contract. Westlake Employment has requested $12,700 from Neepawa, which would ensure its full-time operations. That amount was chosen as it covers the percentage of Neepawa-specific people who are using their services. Town Council has taken the funding request under advisement. Other municipalities in the region will also be approached with similar requests, but for grants that are in line with their resident usage of the program. And a subhead, Novak resigns. Amanda Novak, Neepawa's Leisure Services Manager, recently informed the town that she would be leaving the position. A representative with the town did note that Novak will assist through the transition period as the town searches for a new individual to step into the role. During a recent meeting of the Yellowhead Investment Corridor, to which Neepawa is a member, Portage Reason, PRED, Portage Regional Economic Development, informed the group that it is withdrawing from the partnership. The YIC, Yellowhead Investment Corridor, brings together communities along Manitoba portion of the Highway 16, Portage-La Prairie, Neepawa, Minnedosa, Shoal Lake, and Russell-Binsgarth, to increase awareness of the region's attractiveness for external business investment. Neepawa has received a grant of $5,000 from the federal government to assist with the staging. I apologize, these are new subjects. Each one is a separate one, not relating to the previous. Neepawa has received a grant of $5,000 from the federal government to assist with the staging of festivities for the Canada 150 celebration. Another subject, the RM of Yellowhead has asked Neepawa to support its request for the construction of passing lanes on Provincial Highway 16 to the Saskatchewan border. Similar work was recently done along 16 from Neepawa to Portage, La Prairie. Other municipalities and regional businesses have also been asked to support the effort. A resolution spearheaded by the town of Neepawa for the establishment of municipal census has been dropped by the Association of Manitoba Municipalities. The resolution requested that the AMM ask the province to enact legislation to allow municipalities to conduct a census. On March 23rd, the AMM Board of Directors removed the request from the list of active resolutions, noting that municipalities are already able to conduct such work. The town argued, however, that while municipalities can do that work, it is not formally recognized by the provincial government as official, and the AMM should push the province to do so. The resolution had received majority support during the AMM Midwestern District meetings. The town will look at the possibility of resubmitting the resolution. And a separate story regarding the town. New fund established to help with the cemetery, and this is by Kate Jackman Atkinson. Neepawa is known for its beautiful cemetery, and a newly established charitable fund aims to preserve and enhance that beauty forever. Last year, lifelong Neepawa resident Will McGill established the Riverside Cemetery Fund, a designated fund within the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation. Each year, income generated by the fund will be used for upkeep and beautification of the cemetery. For Gill, the cemetery is an important local asset and a popular tourist attraction. It's an important part of the community and one of the most beautiful cemeteries, she said. As a volunteer tour guide with the Neepawa Lily Festival, Gill said she was able to share the attraction with many visitors. She notes that many bus tours still stop at the cemetery, both to see famous author Margaret Lawrence's grave, as well as enjoy the site's beauty. Gill also has a close personal connection to Riverside Cemetery. All of her family, including her grandparents, are buried there. I've lived in the community all of my life. I grew up taking part in community events, she said. She explained that budget constraints at the town of Neepawa limit the beautification work that can be done at the cemetery, and she hopes her donation, as well as those of others, will help the fund grow and provide additional money to keep the site beautiful. This is my way of giving back, she said. Well, the fund was established by Gill. Anyone who can make a donation, any donation over $10, pardon me, excuse me, a little bit of a tickle. While the fund was established by Gill, anyone can make a donation, and any donations over $10 are eligible for a tax receipt. I want to see it thrive, and the beauty continues, said Gill. Since the original donation has been set up as an endowment fund through the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation, the principal is never spent. Each year, a portion of the interest earned on all donations that make up the fund will be used to provide a grant to the town of Neepawa to use for beautification of the cemetery. Anyone interested in donation to the Riverside Cemetery Fund can contact Beautiful Plains Community Foundation at 204-476-2681. And they have a photo of the Stone Angel, one of the more popular landmarks at Riverside Cemetery in Neepawa, also known as the Davidson Monument. And this page 5 is continuing on from the front page, Neepawa Ag Expo. And its photographs are of top left. Several pieces of farm equipment were stationed in front next to the Neepawa Natives team vehicle at the Yellowhead Hall. And on the right, NACI students were permitted to attend the expo during the afternoon to learn more about the wide array of local businesses connected to the ag industry. And the bottom row, left to right, speakers at Neepawa Ag Expo included John Hurd, PAG-CCA certified, presenting his talk, Spring Fertilizer Options for Nitrogen and Phosphorus. And Jacqueline Gerard, her master's in agriculture, Backswath Management Incorporated, and Justine Cornelison, Canola Council, presenting Canola 101, and Brad Myers was kept busy officiating at the Neepawa Ag Expo auction where 37 items were up for sale. Over $24,000 was raised from this event. A full article on the expo will appear in the Friday, April 14th edition of the Neepawa Banner. And a very non-political and timely message from our MP, Robert Sopuck. A simple message for Easter: Christ has risen. And I see we have another article here from Rick Sparling. And Rick has followed hockey players from his previously published book, The History of Public School Hockey in Neepawa. Where are they now? Catching up with individuals. Rod Peeler, West Park School, 1956-57, Junior Red Wings. Rod Peeler left Neepawa and took his grade 5 in Winnipeg Junior High at Earl Grey and graduated from Kelvin High School in 1965. He went directly into Eaton's and took their Eaton's management training course and became a buyer for Western Canada for menswear. Next, he was a general merchandise manager for ladies' wear and worked as an assistant manager at the Polo Park store until he left Eaton's in 1980. After leaving Eaton's, he became a general merchandise manager for the local jewelry chain, and after working there for 2 years, went into the real estate business. Rod's motto pretty well sums up the success he has enjoyed in the real estate business: I never sleep. Rod has 3 children from his first marriage and 4 granddaughters. His wife for just over 15 years is Lynn McLean, and he has a stepson, Michael. Rod's hobbies are the guitar, oil painting, golf, and he does Rod Stewart gigs whenever the opportunity arises. And the other one is Lawrence Keys, 1955-56, West Park School, Senior Canadians. Lawrence Keys graduated from NACI in 1962 and immediately joined the RCMP. He spent his first postings in Toronto and Fort Erie, Ontario, before coming back to Manitoba, where he was in charge of Clear Lake Detachment in the summer and spent some time posted in Virden. He finished his career with the Mounties as a plainclothesman in Winnipeg until he retired in 1992, having served 30 years with them. He spent another 17 years working for the Manitoba Gaming Commission, doing background checks on lotteries and casino employees, and had investigative trips to the United States and Great Britain checking out gaming suppliers. An example was Bicycle, the playing card manufacturer situated in Great Britain, who supplied our casinos with their cards. Anything the casino used in the way of materials, such as roulette wheels or dice, was checked out by Lawrence's department. From there, he worked his final 7 years with Manitoba Finance, investigating the illegal shipments of tobacco coming in from Ontario. Lawrence was married and has 3 children and 3 grandchildren. He is now retired and living in Winnipeg. So that's where Rod Peeler and Lawrence Keys are. And another article by Kate Jackman Atkinson, tax-deductible receipts for donations to hospital and fire hall. With 2 large capital projects in the works, Neepawa area residents now have a way to help support both the construction of the new fire hall and the new regional hospital. Town of Neepawa CAO Colleen Sinchishan explained that as a result of receiving a few requests from individuals of the public, the town has designated 2 specific accounts for the purposes of receiving donations from the public toward these projects. The town will accept donations of any amount, and any donation over $20 will be eligible for a tax receipt. Sinchishan explained, when bringing in a donation, a donor can direct their donation to a project, but cannot set terms to specify how the money is to be spent within that project. She added that all donations will be tracked in order to recognize donors. In February, Neepawa Town Council released the completed drawings for its proposed 10,000 square foot fire hall, which will be built on the northeast section of the former CN property near Mill Street. The design work was a collaborative effort between the town, members of the Neepawa Fire Department, and Kolonitsky Associates Architects Incorporated, a Winnipeg-based company selected to come up with the design. The next step in the project will see geotechnical and engineering work on the foundation, which will help determine a cost. No date has been announced for the construction of a new regional hospital. And there is a thank you in the classifieds, which I will take time to read because those thank yous often are very meaningful to the families involved. And it says, we would like to thank everyone for the overwhelming support that Tracy Dash and Emma have received during this devastating time of their house fire. During this devastating time, there will be a Bud, Spud, and Steak fundraising on April 15th at the Kelwood Legion. If you cannot make the fundraiser but would like to support them further, you can donate to their GoFund page, and it's there, or you can mail a check to Box 72, Kelwood, Manitoba, and that's for Tracy Dash and Emma. And other than reading all the advertisements, which we normally do, that is the Neepawa Press for this week. Short and sweet, but with some very interesting things, and you can be watching for the Neepawa banner to cover that Ag Expo more fully when it comes out, and it will be out a little earlier because Good Friday closures, so it is being printed tomorrow, Wednesday, and will be on the street as usual on Wednesday, Thursday. So thank you for listening. And as we say, you can always get a hold of us. If there's some programming that you want to see, you can leave a message on our answering machine or talk directly to Nikki. Nikki is here Monday through Thursday, 9 till 4, and she's trying to do her very best to help you. And if there's concerning about programming, we do get calls occasionally that something has happened, a show isn't what they expected, or it is off the air, or it's not, the sound is poor. We need to know those things. We pull from our archives to give you programming so that there is programming from 10 in the morning till 10 at night. And sometimes our archives have faulty discs in them, and we can't always tell that on our own. So if you can phone in the time of day that the programming was on, what the issue was, what the program was, so date, time, and what it was, and just leave a message on our phone, and then we can pull the faulty material from our archives so that it won't cause frustration another time. And as we've always said, if you want to volunteer, there are things like reading the press or reading the banner. Thank you very much to Kathy Jasnick, who has stepped up to do that. There are going to be opportunities if you want to learn to operate a camera at an event that is being put on that you'd like to see made into programming. We really, really would like to help you learn how to operate cameras. They are here available to loan. We loan some of them out to churches for their church services, and we're very appreciative of those people who take time during the church service to record and then bring the material to us so we can put it on the air. But sporting events, entertainment events, all of those things, we'd be more than happy to help you get those recorded, and then we can put them on the air for other people to enjoy locally and across Canada. And thank you very much for all that you do and how you participate in those things. And until next week, have a good Easter. Thank you.